Massmart's first half headline earnings per share climbed almost 14% to 416 cents as the group benefited from a weaker rand. Sales during the period ticked up 15% to 31.4 billion rand, helped partly by higher food inflation. Massmart declared an interim dividend of 252 cents. Paolo, when we say higher food inflation, we're looking at an internal food inflation number of around 2%. Overall internal inflation sitting at 1.1% for Massmart. So this is the first time we've actually started to see significant inflation in a sense. I think since 2009, this is what the company's talking of. So still very much close to that deflationary scenario that is playing out.
Yeah, look, the difficulty with the Massmart, of course, is it had what appears to be really a strong set of results. And what concerns us, I guess, is if you look through some currency translations, you come to an earnings per share which is maybe not that strong.
What kind of number would we be looking at there?
About 5% or so. Okay, because there was a huge currency translation swing from a negative 80 million to a positive 80 million, more or less. And of course, the one side where they are focusing for growth going forward is this food side. And a lot of the capital expenditure will be going in there. So you've got sales growth, but the question is it being translated into earnings growth? And maybe on that front, it disappointed us a little.
So, Liston, I mean, the point is that we have to take into consideration that the rand does affect a lot of companies out there. Should we perhaps say, well, let's try and see what would have happened if the rand didn't weaken over the period and look at that headline earnings per share number? Or are you just happy at looking at the number that came through and say, well, the company did actually perform quite well?
No, definitely not. I think you have to say, where did it come from and, you know, what is likely going forward? And I absolutely agree. You know, the swing from minus to plus was almost exactly equal to the increase in profitability. So is that repeatable? I wouldn't like to be on record as saying that they can do all that again, because where they were starting at minus 80 and getting plus 80, now they're starting at plus 80. What will they get next time? So I think that is absolutely vital in the way that one looks at this company. But I think you know, a couple of things come out here. The first one is this is the first time that they're reporting as a Walmart subsidiary. And obviously there are still some question marks about that. So again, it was quite interesting to read through and see, you know, what impact that had come through from maybe the governance that is being required for them, you know, from a very, very large corporate. And then I also think two of the strategic objectives that they identify, the one is to actually complete the transaction, and the other one is to integrate Massmart into Walmart. So very much that's the focus of management, is to see how this is going to work. And I absolutely agree. They've got a very stated intent that, you know, they are going to make an attack on the food market, which is currently quite small. Just go back to the deflation story, and on the general merchandise, they actually say their inflation was negative 6%. Yeah. So that's quite a considerable amount down. So to have got a positive, you know, overall says that there was some inflation, you know, coming through on the other sides. And then again, just because it's Walmart, you know, well, part of their story of being, you know, good governance was to show, you know, what good bits they're doing for orphans in one area and helping communities in others. So there's quite a large bit about that that one doesn't always find in interims.
So Paolo, what would you say the future prospects is for the company? I mean, you've got Massmart trying to integrate itself into Walmart, and speaking to the CEO, he's actually said that they're looking at the suppliers and the supply chain and trying to ensure that there's synergies between Walmart suppliers and Massmart suppliers. But he said, actually, interestingly, they actually source products from very similar suppliers, so not much change there.
Yeah, probably not much change there. And I think the integration to a large degree is going to be quite a small issue actually going forward. Their real issue is, how do they penetrate Africa? How do they penetrate the food sector? Because there's a lot of expenditure.
Do you think they've done that aggressively enough into the African continent?
No, I think that's on the back burner for now, actually. I think their priority is to enlarge this food operation of theirs. They've obviously got a network as it currently stands, but they talk of central distribution and so forth. Now, we've seen competitors like Pick n Pay play in the central distribution for a long time and struggling to get it right. Yeah. No doubt these guys will, but it's invariably going to take a lot of time and commitment and investment, of course, as we've seen. Costs have gone up primarily because of that.
So we can actually expect depressed earnings to come through from Massmart because they're just going to roll out so many new strategies, which is going to be
Yeah, but I think that food side's going to roll out quite quickly and quite aggressively. I mean, I don't think they're going to do anything by half measure. So no doubt earnings, though, will be under pressure from a cost side in that business compartment. The rest of the business, though, I think trades relatively well, actually.
And it's also quite interesting, Liston, the fact that we've actually seen a lot of hype around Walmart entering South Africa. Speaking to Whitey Basson, the CEO of ShopRite, saying that, you know, the effect hasn't really been felt. Would you say that it's still to come? And then also, if you could tell me if you think Massmart is hot or not.
Well, I think golly, lots of questions there. I think in the first instance, you know, bedding down, and it isn't as though they had another operation which they had to merge. What they really have to do is to align this one much more with the corporate standards. So I think that's an easier ask. Certainly moving into food is an area which I think they've said and stated as a way to go. I just want to go back to a couple of the statements that they made in the thing, and the one is, it's the first time in a while that I've actually seen somebody, and remember, this is their first statement, and the statement is that they talk about is onerous labour legislation. And if you remember, half of the battle of the Walmarts is that they're probably going to cost jobs, and or they're going to source from non-South African suppliers. So this is a very bad idea, and certainly they're going to have to look like very, very good corporate citizens for some time. So I certainly think that's going to put a dampener on anything.
So
and exactly right, you know, store expansion and moving into newer areas, capturing the space for that, that's all pretty costly. They talk about their cost base growing there at about 14.4. I'll be very surprised if it doesn't carry on at levels like that. So certainly at an overall level, because of the changes and because of everything else, I'm only lukewarm. I do see some good value, you know, going forward. There's no doubt this is the platform for things to come, but we're in the bedding down process at the moment.
All right, so Paolo, hot or not for you?
Not hot, and simply for two reasons. I think trying to penetrate the food side will be quite a challenge. It's difficult to get sites and so forth. And secondly, I think given its price, it's fairly expensive at this level. It's probably one of the more expensive retail counters.